Game of Thrones Season 8 was widely disliked. This is undeniable, and the upper brass at HBO must have been aware of this, which places them in quite the conundrum. Their most successful juggernaut of an IP has had its reputation besmirched at a time when they need it the most. If they are to contend with Disney, whose Marvel and Star Wars properties are spitting out shows from their own universes 2 at a time, multiple times a year, they need the world of Westeros and afar to be one they perpetuate various shows from, which is purportedly their plan. All this considered, their first show, which has become House of the Dragon, needs to be a hit, or everything else falls apart. If the people don't like it, or worse, aren't even interested in coming back at all, they're screwed. And Game of Thrones Season 8 really did sink the ship, or perhaps the dragon, entirely, maybe forever. It is to be understood, therefore, that there's a lot riding on this first show succeeding, and the people behind it are working at an unearned yet seemingly insurmountable disadvantage, as their show from the onslaught through no fault of its own through the sins of its father was always and will forever be intrinsically anchored to the most famous fuck-up in pop culture history. It's to be understood, therefore, that a safe path perhaps would be most advisable. Given all this, in attacking this undertaking, so not to isolate or alienate further potential audiences, safety and tepidness should rule the day. But this is not the path House of the Dragon travelled, nor the timber of its journey. House of the Dragon came out swinging. And to House of the Dragon for coming out swinging with that birthing scene in the first episode of your eminently important brand new spin-off show, after 3 years off the air, to you, sir, I say bravo. By God, what a risk it was to have something so gruesome, something so terrifying, something so shocking as a reintroduction. And to pull it off and have the success you dreamed of certainly is an accomplishment. The world of Westeros did not come out meekly, it did not come out quietly, for that would not be in its nature. As they say, with high risk comes high reward. But you know me, this is all impressive, but completely irrelevant to me or my enjoyment of this scene. And I wouldn't just make a video to praise HBO for succeeding in making a hit and saving an IP that they can now milk, in ways that will almost certainly piss all of us off in the coming years. So let's talk about the juicy stuff, and why I fell in love with House of the Dragon's swinging fist of a crowning scene from its first episode, and everything surrounding that Aemma Arryn birthing scene. Aemma Arryn, in a debut episode that had Rhaenyra being named heir, Daemon's introduction, and copious amounts of book references that I could point at like a Red Letter Media caricature while having the time of my life, stole the show for me. She is made so likeable so quickly, and the actress pulls it off effortlessly, with a tired sarcasm that's remarkably ingratiating, buttering us up for the trauma of what comes next. Her mothering of Rhaenyra when we first meet her in the episode is endearingly annoying in the most motherly of ways, and her resignment to her duty and purpose in life as a baby-making machine, and an unsuccessful one at that, makes her dastardly sympathetic in the face of an absolute suffocating patriarchy. Her insisting to Rhaenyra that this will soon be her fate too, and that the childbed is their battlefield, their gendered duty and purpose to society, and Rhaenyra's light rejection of that, does wonders for both of their characterizations. Her only other featured scene in the episode before what happens sees her in the bath confiding in Viserys, her king and husband, in that order as we will come to find out, is heartbreaking on both ends, and serves to make them both more likable and complex. Her wit and jests to open the scene make her funny and charming in ways that were hidden in her earlier scene with Rhaenyra, and that juxtaposed with her sudden honesty, bubbling through trauma, and vulnerability to close the scene, flesh her out into a living, breathing person that you care about, and the genuine yet flawed love that Viserys and Aemma share, as struggling individuals, monarchs, parents, and spouses, is portrayed quickly in just a few minutes, in a host of relatable ways, just in time for it to hurt when the overtly obvious tragedy strikes. The announcement made by Viserys at the beginning of the tourney, Queen Aemma has begun her labours, though met with cheers and adulation from the people, is one poisoned with suspicion. My stomach turned knowing what was coming, though I didn't even truly know entirely what was coming. I'm sure even the most blind of viewers must have caught the scent of oncoming tragedy lingering in the air. Aemma's monologue earlier about her many failed pregnancies, and Viserys' steadfast belief that something entirely left to chance in a story was certain, in him expecting to have a son, all but guarantees that this will not all go smoothly. Even if not going smoothly is just Aemma birthing a girl. But when Mellos comes shuffling out, and notably whispers distressed first in Otto's ear, the spidey senses start tingling. And the growing suspicions and worrisome fears are met, attacked even, by Aemma's wailing as we follow Viserys away from the tourney into the birthing chambers. And on a rewatch, knowing what's coming, the echo only becomes more haunting. The king is then informed by Mellos that the labour is not going well, and then he joins Aemma and will remain at her side until the trials of the day are over and she lay dead. The scene is then drowned out, overtaken by the stamping of hooves of the jousts outside, transporting us back to the ongoings of the tourney. This is where the intercutting between the events outside at the jousts and the events inside the birthing chambers begin, and they will also continue until the tourney is done and Aemma lay dead. Outside, we focus mostly on Daemon and Sir Criston Cole's joust and subsequent melee, which is a manufactured performative version of a man's battlefield, which through the intercutting and in connecting to Aemma Arryn's earlier monologue, parallels the women's battlefield of the birthing bed. Intercutting scenes together like this is something House of the Dragon is fond of, as we will come to understand in further episodes. And this is something that it uses quite effectively. The gendered battlefield parallel here is an exceptional one. Through this particular intercutting of scenes, one idea is relayed rather effectively, I think. And that's the deromanticization of both societal gendered duties, their battlefields. Jousts and melees are supposed to be about honor and sport, reflecting wartime battlefield combat, but really both Daemon and Criston fight dirty, attacking the other when they aren't expecting it or from behind, showing no bountiful honor or sportsmanship. It's all grimy and unpleasant. It's also a farce, a constructed hardship during peacetime, which Rhaenys hits on the folly of during the episode. Giving birth is supposed to be an elegant thing, wherein beautiful new life is ushered, but we see it as grimy and sour and horrifying here with Aemma, and it even results in horrific loss of life rather than creation of beautiful new life. Men are supposed to be valiant fighters whose sacrifices allow women and children and kingdoms to prosper, but really they're just silly boys playing with sticks for their own ends and egos. And women are left to suffer the birthing process and risk their lives. Perhaps it's the women's battlefield that is the more dangerous one. Perhaps their subjugation and societal duty through motherhood is not as wondrous as the tales would lead you to believe. But even disregarding which gender gets the short end of the stick here, one thing is made clear through their depiction and paralleling here. Neither is elegant, neither is graceful. Both can result in needless death and carnage, and both can be grimy and unpleasant. Life is not a song, sweetling. The directing here and the imagery outside of the thematic gender parallels make this scene stand out even more so, truly making it great in my estimation, and we're talking about mostly on the Aemma Arryn side here. I shudder to watch it still, a lot of what's done to Aemma in this scene, which if you'll recall is why I marvelled at how ballsy a choice it was for this scene to go as far as it did in the show's first episode earlier in the video. I can't believe they showed the C-section piece by piece. The first sudden jolting down of Aemma into position for surgery, the initial incision, the larger incision, the hands jammed into the open wound, as lakes of blood come flowing out of her stomach, all while she's wailing, unconsulted, delirious, begging for it not to happen. It just escalates and escalates unnervingly, until Aemma lay dead in her bed of blood, recalling Lyanna and all that comes with it. The lasting trauma might come from before all of that though. This shot of Viserys accompanied with the line, "They're going to bring the babe out now," and his farewell "I love you," with Aemma looking up at him with trusting eyes half drugged out on milk of the poppy, completely unaware, will haunt me for the rest of my years to come, through this war and all the wars to come. Truly chilling, awe-inspiring stuff. The last point and another layer to what makes this scene so rich is actually a point Elite RE first brought up to me in our episode 1 discussion. A discussion that you can conveniently find over on the second channel, which is that the intercutting is boosted further by a mini-narrative that's created of the conflict over the status of Viserys' heir between Daemon and the Babe. Whenever things look to be going poorly for the Babe in the birthing chambers, outside, Daemon in the joust or the subsequent melee is on top. And when it looks like the Babe is going to pull through, Daemon starts to lose. This goes back and forth a few times, and it's an incredible extra layer of detail that emboldens an already phenomenal scene, in my opinion. Of course, we end things with Ser Criston Cole victorious and the Babe born, though neither of them would last as heir. And we'd end the episode with a then afterthought promise to the Iron Throne. The following funeral scene and the reveal that Prince Balon neither survived, and Rhaenyra's monologue there, further embolden the terrifying profundity of everything done with Aemma Arryn giving birth. Millie Alcock's acting when she is called on to say Dracarys, the first attempt getting caught in her throat, grief palpable, is remarkable. Fleshing her out further in anticipation for the final stretch of the episode and what's to come next. Overall, a spectacular sequence in character work, acting, directing, writing, and imagery, done in an extraordinarily ballsy fashion, making a statement of quality that the series would continue to produce thereafter. House of the Dragon did indeed come out swinging. There goes my first House of the Dragon video, long overdue, because if you couldn't tell, this was supposed to come out before episode 2, shake my head. If this does well, and everybody enjoys it, I will not hesitate to make more in the future, as I am potentially enjoying this show too much, and am liable to say some hyperbolic things about just how much I'm enjoying it. If you are interested in my unscripted thoughts or the unscripted thoughts of Elite RE, trusted friend of the channel, you can head over to the secondary ENT channel, where we have discussions on each episode the day they come out. Or you can head over to Twitch and catch them live. Follow me on Twitter too. Support links in the description below. Thanks.